surreal.
It is a bit surreal. It's a little bit surreal, especially when I open
There
to
she
see
is.
the author
There she
picture.
is.
This is the picture that I really wanted in my book. Just how far I've come.
How old are you in that photograph?
I'm 16.
16.
16,
Wow.
you know?
Wow.
So we're talking 20 years ago, not giving away my age. Giving away my age. Yep.
All right, well, we're here to talk about the book. We're here, we got a big surprise that we're going to announce, but we're going to wait till the end to do that. First, we want to talk about the book. We want, the fans have got questions. They've got lots of questions they want to ask. As you know, they're very interested in our relationship. I'm her husband. In case you don't know, in case you're tuning in for the first time, I'm her husband. I'm not an interviewer. I'm not a professional, anything but a wrestler.
Can I just look at how well this kid did? This kid did good. She did good.
I'm the one batting up here, all right? I'm the one batting up. All right, so let's get into some questions, okay? So your moniker's the man.
Yep.
This person wants to know, who is the man in the relationship?
I'm not the man in
Right.
the relationship. No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. No. He's the organizer, the deliberator. You know, I'm more of the creative.
Hmm?
You know, the ideas person, and he's the person who orchestrates the things. I think in wrestling, especially in my division, I find that I am the orchestrator.
Sure,
I am
sure.
the organizer, the deliberator. But in the relationship, you know, it's all that.
So on that now, we're both full-time WWE superstars on the road all the time in the same industry, entertainment world. Kind of describe what that's like. If it's good, bad, pros, cons. Like, is it beneficial? Is it helpful? How does it change? Is it changed from any other relationship dynamic you've had?
I think the biggest worry for me when we first got together was that we would be around each other and talking about wrestling the whole time, and that was nerve-wracking for me. But I think it's just been nothing but great. It's been nothing but great. I think because you're able to go back to somebody who understands absolutely everything about your day and everything that you're doing and the struggles and the conflicts that you have, and especially in this world where there's no time off, where it's 52 weeks a year, and you are traveling with the same person who you're also at home with, raising a child with. I think that would seem like a lot, but it's not. It's just the easiest. It's the easiest thing that I've ever done. It's the greatest.
Well, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. All right. Okay. I was thinking about asking like for the negatives, but I feel like let's just stay away from that.
But no,
you know?
but like, and it's not just.
Well, what about from a competitive standpoint? Because you know we're both vying for the same spots.
For the
you know?
top spot, yeah, sure. But I think that maybe that was more of a problem in the beginning, especially with the WrestleMania where we were both looking to main event. But I think there's kind of like a bit of an inspiration now, and I think because wrestling is all like, it's all waves, right? Like you catch a wave and then you ride it till the end, and then there's another wave, and then you have to get on that and paddle and try to get that. And so I think you kind of gain more inspiration from seeing somebody do well, as opposed to thinking that it's a knock on you.
Okay. So more positive than negative for sure.
100%.
That's great. I feel the same way.
100%.
I feel the same way. But WWE isn't your only foray into the television world. You've done some other things, but most recently you competed on an episode of Celebrity Jeopardy, right? Celebrity Jeopardy.
Yep.
Who were you on there with?
I was on there with Macaulay Culkin and Rachel Dratch.
And how did you do?
I made some history. I made history.
Talk of the town.
Talk of the town. I was ratings, Rebecca. We're going to start with the positives
Ratings,
before we
Rebecca.
get to the
Yep,
negatives.
yep.
Highest rated Jeopardy episode. And then they replayed it, and it did even better. And I think a lot of that is because of my historically awful appearance. I was the first person in history to get 0 questions right within the first 60 questions. Is that right? Going in after Double Jeopardy. I, 1, was a little bit screwed, and 2, like some of the answers, they could have given them to me. The buzzer. And then 3, I'd never watched an episode of Jeopardy beforehand. I was a little bit cocky going in because we had just been on Weakest Link.
Yeah.
We had just been on Weakest Link, and I crushed it. I killed it. I was the strongest link.
You were the best.
Every single round until the New Day voted us off. And so I was feeling cocky. I was like, trivia, I got this. But then I'd never watched Jeopardy before in my life. So the way that they asked the questions, the buzzer, it all tripped me up. I'm really making excuses now for why it was awful. Really, they sent the wrong family member, but we made history.
You know,
we made history.
We made history. You did great. You know, like you said, ratings Rebecca. We got to focus on the positive
Ratings
here.
Rebecca, history maker.
Positive.
Game
Positive.
changer.
Speaking of game changer, let's talk about the book now. Let's get to the book. You wrote a book.
I wrote a book.
You've been writing this book for...
Well, I started it in 2020. I started it when I went on maternity leave when I was having Rue. And then I'd start and then I'd stop and then I'd start and then I'd stop and then I'd start and then I'd stop. And then eventually I had a deadline and then I had to keep going. But I hadn't reread it, and I sent it off. And then I had some trouble with editors until I got to my amazing editor, also Rebecca. And she sent me back questions and stuff, and I got to read it, and I was like, wait a minute, what am I writing? This isn't the book that I want to put out there. So then I spent 5 weeks, and it was the time when I became the NXT Women's Champion, where I really started crafting the book and getting it to a point where I'm really proud of. And so I say that I started it in 2020, but I really got the bulk of it done in a 5-week span, I would say.
Well, I watched the whole process.
Yes,
I watched the entire
process.
I watched the whole process. I saw the entire thing. The you'd go in sprints and then you'd back off in sprints. She took an entire writing class, by the way, a year-long writing class, every week for a year in preparation for writing this book, which was insane in its own right because she's raising a little kid, trying to be a WWE superstar, wifing as well, being supportive, and she's taking a class and writing a book. She's literally doing it all. But the book is here. This is it in the flesh for the first time ever. It's beautiful. I've read it. She finally let me read it. She wouldn't let me read much of it as she was going through it. But it's been in my hands. I've read it. I ate it up. I thought it was amazing. I just thought it's a great book. It's really, it's spoken in her voice. She didn't have a ghostwriter for this either. She wrote it. Every word in this book is hers, and you can tell when you read it. The stories, all of it, it's beautiful, and it's available right now. Pre-order, BeckyLynchBook.com. You can go there now. You can get some signed copies, limited signed copies, but you can go there, BeckyLynchBook.com. Right now, you can pre-order this book, pre-order some signed copies.
And there's also going to be an exclusive...
Right. Wait till the end.
Okay.
Wait till the end. We'll get there.
But I'm so excited!
I know, she's so excited. Let's talk about the book a little bit first, all right? Because it is, what I found about it was it was a very vulnerable book. It's a very vulnerable read. You're pretty open about almost everything, your entire life in this book. But it doesn't come across as... pushy or trite or it's not over emotional. There's a lot of good humor in the book as well. But like I said, it's pretty deep. So I wanted to talk about a couple things. You grew up in kind of like a religious upbringing a little bit, right?
Yeah, my mom.
Your mom.
My mom's super Catholic.
So
Dad, not so much. Mom's super Catholic.
Yeah, and I mean...
And my grandmother.
You're Irish.
I'm Irish. Yeah.
You're Irish. Irish Catholic. They're all Catholics.
Yeah.
So can you describe kind of how that, when you first were I'm going to be a wrestler, how did that play in that scenario? What did that look like?
Not well.
Okay.
Not well.
Yeah.
Not well.
They
It's a
weren't
little-
supportive.
Not so much. I mean, my dad was extremely supportive. I write about all of this in my book, but he was the one who drove me down to the wrestling school. My parents were separated at the time, separated in general, divorced at that stage, and which in Ireland was wacky because divorce wasn't even legal until the late 90s. And so, but my mom, I lied to her and told her that I was doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because it just seemed like a little bit more exotic, you know, maybe she could get behind it. But myself and my brother were huge wrestling fans, but anytime she would come in and we'd have wrestling on, she'd be like, oh my God, no, what are you watching? And she'd shriek, and so there was no way I could tell her that I was going to be a wrestler. But also, I mean, you're talking about somebody who's Catholic, which means full of guilt, full of shame, full of like no sexuality at all. You are constantly in sweaters and hoodies, and you do not have a body. You are a floating head in a hoodie. And so, like, when you would watch wrestling, what was on the TV, there was a lot of, you know, women in brand panties matches and mud wrestling matches, and
Yeah, we're talking what, late 90s, early 2000s
yeah,
WWE.
late 90s, early 2000s.
It's a different era.
A completely different era. And like my ma was like, is that what you're doing? And of course, like, that's not what I wanted to do. That's not I wanted to do what the guys were doing. I wanted to
Hey, Louise, shut up.
I wanted to do what the men were doing. I wanted to be a top star, and so, but like, I couldn't point to anything and say, this is what I want to do.
So that actually is a perfect lead into the next thing I want to talk about, which is being a woman in a male-dominated industry. I'm talking dominated. Like, you really had to pave the way in that regard to for people, even the audience is just viewing women in a different light, right? Because there was nobody there to set that bar. There was nobody there for you to look to. So how was that, even in the early stages of the industry, working your way all the way up to WWE, constantly trying to fight that good fight, if you will?
Gosh, I think it became very confusing in many regards, you know, because I had this vision of what I wanted to do, but then also had this weird thing of like, well, but no, you just have to conform to make it, and like, and so I found it very confusing, and a kind of detail about how you try to fit into this mold of feeling like you have to do lingerie shoots and all that kind of stuff, but then really what I felt really uncomfortable. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't doing it because it was what I wanted to do. I didn't feel empowered doing it. I felt just the need to conform, and then I stepped away from business for a long time, and then coming back to it, I guess I had a different perspective. But I also had so much life experience because I did so much in the meantime. But then coming into WWE, I had one very specific goal, and that was to main event WrestleMania and to make women's wrestling the coolest thing on TV, and to change the game and to be seen as equal. And even in my early stages in NXT, it was weird and it was confusing because you were told that women can't punch, and we can't use things like steps, or we can't use the post, or we can, and it was like, well, are we supposed to just hair pull and slap each other and do, you know? And it was very confusing. And I even remember being told, move like a girl, and I was like, wait, what? I'm a girl, I'm moving. What do you mean move like a girl? And it was all so very confusing. And so, and also, where I wanted to go to, there had been no women that had gone there. So it is very male dominated, but I was trying to get to the space where the men were,
Yeah.
at the top of the card, and so had to rely on them for help and for guidance. And was lucky that I had people like you to turn to, and like John Cena, being able to ask him advice because he was on all the live events, and so you very much had to go to the people who had been in the spots that you wanted to be, and luckily everybody is so willing to help the younger, eager talent out in that regard. Like nobody's hoarding the secrets for themselves.
So
you know?
so now you're that. You are John Cena, right?
Yeah,
Well,
sure.
Look,
yeah,
you
yeah.
are.
You know?
She'll never say that.
Sure, well,
but
as in I've
you're
got
in that
more
position.
experience.
You're
Yeah,
in that
yes,
position.
I can be
So
in that
what
position.
what advice would you bestow on the next generation of young ladies trying to follow in your footsteps?
Gosh, I suppose it's more than anything is to trust yourself. And then it's the thing that John used to always say to me that used to frustrate the hell out of me. I don't know who you are. I don't know who are you? Who are you? Well, I'm this, and I would go into this like long form explanation, and essentially it's who are you? Who are you? Find out who you are, and a way to bring that to the table in a understandable, digestible manner, and that can often be the hardest thing in wrestling, I find.
Very difficult, and you cover all this in the book.
I do.
In depth.
In depth.
I mean, we're just jumping over things, but
Yeah.
you can get more detail in the book, BeckyLynchBook.com. Right now, you can get it. But you talk about John saying, "Find out who you are." Right. So, what are the main differences then between Becky Lynch, the man, and Rebecca Quinn?
Oh,
are
gosh,
they
yeah, so
are they
much
similar? Are they different? Like what's the relationship between you and your character?
I just want to ask you that question. I want to ask you that question. What's the difference?
Yeah.
What is the difference?
Man, that's I don't know. Because you're not as mean.
I'm not as mean.
Rebecca Quinn's not as mean as Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch is kind of mean sometimes, but you're both strong and you're both powerful, strong-willed, stubborn at times.
We have this long-standing debate of who's more stubborn because our daughter is outrageously stubborn. We're like, where did she get that from?
Who knows? But bottom line, there's a ton of good stuff in this book. Honestly, I loved it. I read it like in a few days. Honestly, it was super quick. It's an easy read, an enjoyable read. I think for longtime wrestling fans and for just first-time readers who are interested in your story, which I think is an incredible story. I think it's universally adaptable to men and women, but I do think average girls are gonna really get quite a lot out of this. So I just wanted to thank you for putting this into the world. I know you had much trepidation when it came to, I mean, there's so many times when she was like, I don't even want to write this book. I'm done. We're never putting this book out. But the book is out, available now, BeckyLynchBook.com. And now that we've reached the end, we can get to the surprises because we have some surprise announcements. You said you had a surprise announcement coming in January. You take the floor. What do you got?
Big exclusive giveaway. So anybody who purchases a signed copy from BeckyLynchBook.com will be entered into this giveaway with some very, very sentimental items for me. And so I've written about all of these items in detail in the book, and so I wanted to give people something that meant a lot to me. You've
got the items.
I've got the items.
Let's show the items.
So here are the items. So, one, this is the T-shirt that I did my first promo in after I turned heel on Charlotte at SummerSlam, which really set the table and set me on an upward trajectory to becoming the man. And so I talk about that promo, and even looking at it brings me back to a whole bunch of memories. So I will sign this for you, and some lucky winner is going to get that.
That's cool.
That is item one.
That's quite cool. What else you got?
3 items.
3 items. All right, let's get to
Item number 2. This is the leather jacket I beat up Charlotte and Rhonda in with crutches. with crutches nonetheless. I drew blood from Ronda's head.
Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey.
MMA WWE legend. Just
Yes.
So we're clear.
And then got carted away by security officers. So
Is that
again,
the jacket you got arrested in?
no,
The
this
arrest?
this isn't the arrest jacket.
That was just the beat with the crutch.
That's the beat with the crutch one and get carted off.
Okay.
But I was really happy about it because, you know, when we got arrested, it was all three of us.
Yeah,
But this
yeah.
was just me
This
again.
was all
This
you.
was just me hobbling in on a crutch, then beating the hell out of them with crutches, and then getting carted off.
I remember
really awful
I remember
security
the
that
crutch
night.
beating was it was rough. It was
Yeah,
rough. It was
violent.
rough. So that's cool. That's
Yep,
pretty
there
sweet.
we go. There's that. And then we're going way back.
Way
we're
back.
going way back to the archives.
Wow.
This, my trench coat that the young lass kicker used to come out in. This is
Wow.
the one that I debuted in an NXT match myself against Sasha Banks, and I had this whole new steampunk look. I talk about it a lot. I talk about this trench coat
Yeah.
a lot in this book, and so that is the third item. So if you go on to BeckyLynchBook.com, order yourself a exclusive signed copy, and then you get to enter into this giveaway where you will win a signed.
And don't worry, if you've already purchased a book there, you're already entered in. You're already entered in.
Already
so
in
you're
the draw.
good. But there's one more thing.
Yes,
One more thing. You are going to
be doing very, very limited signatures with this purple pen with a very special inscription. So there'll be limited numbers of them available. BeckyLynchBook.com.
And that's it. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you hanging out with us. Honestly, I can't say enough nice things about this book. Obviously, I'm a little biased. She is the best, but I'm telling you, it's a fantastic book. It's awesome. I'm so proud of you, and thanks for joining me and letting me interview you. I've never interviewed anybody before.
You're so good.
Here we are. Thank you guys, and enjoy the book.